Thank you for downloading one of our recent Sunday morning sermons from our weekly 10:30 a.m. worship. At Central Christian Church, we are growing together in our understanding and our faith. We are touching lives with the love of Christ, and we are sharing our gifts within and beyond our congregation. We are glad to share our Sunday morning messages with you. We hope you will hear a word of comfort and encouragement for your life. May God bless you and grant you peace and joy.
Tell you today about two dreams. There is a theologian of sorts and a storyteller named Frederick Buechner, and he says that if you tell your story anywhere near right, it isn't just your story. It echoes in the hearts and the minds of those who hear the story. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story and what I've been experiencing, and I hope I can tell it anywhere near right so that it might echo within your hearts as well. I had a dream this week, and in it I was eating mud. Yeah. The dirty ashes of grief formed into the inedible. And my stomach revolted, and literally I was sick to my stomach in the middle of the night, and I woke up to a day of grief that has taken on biblical proportions. Babies died. 6- and 7-year-old children died. 20 6- and 7-year-old children died. Innocent. And there are mothers and there are fathers who are broken to the core. And there are sisters and brothers who cannot find their playmates anymore. And there are husbands and families who must be carried on by others. And there is a community that will bear the scar for generations. And there is a nation that is stunned into disbelief. There is nothing nourishing in this mud. Nothing nourishing in this mud. It is, however, all that some people have to eat this day. This is, my friends, the dark world into which Jesus was born. A world of madness in power, a tyranny of senseless violence, a lust for control, a desire to dominate that causes you to fear little children and their teachers. This is the darkness that Jesus was born into. We shouldn't minimize it or pretend it cannot happen here, or delude ourselves that we're somehow different, or try to shift the blame to someone else. This is the reality of darkness. It hides itself in our denial and our unwillingness to take a look at it. If we do not see it, then we do not have the the choice to change the course. If we do not see this darkness for what it is, then we do not even know that we need to be rescued. Mary understood it. She knew. Joseph understood it. He knew. The miracle of Jesus' birth is that this child of promise was not destroyed. Before he had the chance to live and teach and bring the message of God's kingdom to the rest of us. He was born into this darkness, and he was perilously provided an escape, and he was brought forth strategically, and every step of the way is a miraculous rescue plan of God. There is a wonderful folk tale that is told that every child that's born into the world, every single child that's born into the world is born with a song. And before they are born, it's told of this village where they tell the story. Every mother hears the song of her child in a dream. In some way, the song of her child comes to her, and she begins to sing that child's song long before the child is born, so that the child within the womb is hearing the song of his mother. His or her song is being sung before that child is born. And when the child is born, that mother continues to use that song to sing to her child. And when that child is grown and finds himself or herself in trouble, the village invites the child back to the center of the community, and then the whole village sings that child its song. His or her song gets sung back to the child. And it's through the singing of the song that the child is restored. I like that story. Mary sang Jesus' song. My mother was a singer. Yeah. My mother was a singer. And she taught Sunday school in my little Sunday school growing up, and she was the song leader for the Sunday school classes. And I remember my brothers in the back row, there was one song that was a marching song, and they were making the sounds of all the bullets. I don't remember what the song was, but they were really good at those sounds. But there was one song that my mother sang that taught me, and you all know it. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And that song I keep coming back to and have come back to throughout my life. When it has been one of the darkest times in my life, that darn song shows up. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm not going to let anything put this little light out. You know that song? That simple little children's song? That is one powerful song, folks. Nothing gets to put that little light out. Mary sang Jesus' song. Imagine, you know, I was thinking about this because I have two 25-year-old twin sons, and that makes them two twins anyway. Twins grow up. 25-year-old twin sons, and I remember, you know, you do too, I'm sure you do. You've had children. Remember playing and singing with them those songs, and the delight in their eyes when you sang to them those crazy songs that you sang to them. I just remember doing patty cake, and doing all these crazy motions with my voice, and how they wanted to do it over and over and over again. I can imagine Mary with this baby in her arms, this tiny baby in her arms, and singing this song and singing the the verse, he has shown strength in his powerful arm, bringing down the powerful and lifting up the lowly, and holding up this little tiny baby arm and saying, in his powerful arm, bringing down the powerful and the lowly. And I can imagine her singing this song, and I can imagine the coos and the laughter and the sparkle in his eyes and in her eyes as this song passes between them. This was no simple lullaby to soothe a tired baby. Just like this little light line is no simple song. This is a song of strong identity. Of strong identity. This is who you are, my child. This is who you are. This is why you have come for this purpose. This is why you are here. You, my little one, will change the fortunes of the world. The innocent and the lowly are waiting for you, my child. They are waiting for your call to rise, while the powerful are in need of some humility. You, my child, are God's rescue mission. Imagine singing that song to this child. In May of 2011, I had another dream. I wasn't dreaming about eating mud this time. Thank you very much. But I was traveling in another part of the world. I was in Central America on a pilgrimage. I was invited to go on this pilgrimage by DAM, Division of Overseas Ministry, our global ministry partners. And we were invited to travel through Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. And from this pilgrimage, we have now formed a partnership with the Ecumenical Council of Churches of Guatemala. Our region and the Ecumenical Council of Guatemala are joined in partnership with one another. Well, on this journey, we were invited to listen to the stories of our brothers and sisters in faith in that part of the world. And as we journeyed from Guatemala to Nicaragua to El Salvador, the pilgrimage deepened, because this is a part of the world that has seen so much war and oppression. And I dreamed on the night before we flew from Nicaragua to El Salvador, I dreamed that we were walking the Stations of the Cross. You know, the Stations of the Cross? We don't really celebrate them in the Protestant tradition, but I'm beginning to wonder if maybe we ought to. Because we were following the Stations of the Cross in this land, and we were wandering through this wilderness of these war-torn places, and we had been listening to people tell the stories about the lost children that they had never had come home or found, or their lost husbands. And we had been listening to what had happened to them in the midst of war, and losing sisters and brothers and parents, and just not knowing where they are, and wondering still after years where they were. And in the midst of this dream of walking through this wilderness and the Stations of the Cross along the way, you know, this was, you know, a wild place, and this is a place where you could begin to get afraid, and I was not afraid. There was with me a companion saying, "Fear not, just look a little farther and a little deeper." And I began to look a little farther and deeper in the dream, and in this dream I came to this wall, this beautiful wall, and there was like this bulletin board. This beautiful bulletin board, and I didn't recognize what it was, but there was this drawing on this bulletin board. I couldn't get what it was, but it was blue, and it was white, kind of like the banners. In the back, it was blue and it was white, and I didn't also saw stars and things like that. And I was filled with hope. And then the next day we got up and we flew to El Salvador. And I shared my story with my friends as we did that. And they said, all of them, that they too felt like we were walking the stations of the cross. And we came to this beautiful country of El Salvador, and it's lush and it's green and it's beautiful. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not, not the wilderness that I was dreaming about in my dream. This is beautiful. And then we got in the bus to drive from the airport in El Salvador to San Salvador, which is the capital. And along the way they said, oh, and yes, by the way, this is where the 5 American nuns were murdered on the side of the road as they were traveling from the airport to the city. And then I knew we were on the Stations of the Cross. And then they took us to the church, this beautiful church like yours, open air, because that part of the world is a little warmer than it is here. Open air cathedral where Archbishop Romero was murdered by an assassin's bullet as he stood consecrating the offering that was brought forward that day. He stood there with those words of offering, the sacrifice that had been made, and one assassin's bullet from the back, open air, through him, and he was gone. It is this beautiful, beautiful sanctuary. And the chandeliers, they're like yours, suspended down, but they're, get this, they're star-shaped. Star-shaped. And as I was exploring this holy ground, where someone who had offered up his life in witness to what was happening to those who were poor and lowly around him had his life taken away, as I'm in the midst of this place and I'm wandering up the aisle towards where the altar is, there's a kind of alcove off to the left. And as I walk my way forward, coming into this place, I turn and guess what's there on the wall? A bulletin board. But now I see who it is. It's Mary. Mary. She's called Our Lady of Guadalupe in that part of the world. Mary. And she has on this blue robe. And this blue robe is star-covered. And there she is. Mary. A good news bulletin right there in the midst of this sanctuary. And you know what, folks? From then on, every place we went, she was in the room. She was in a small picture on the wall where someone else had been murdered. She was everywhere. Mary. She was this sign of hope. She was there as I watched her and I saw her, and as I called her from my dream, she was there as a witness to what the powerful will do when they are afraid. When they are afraid, what they will do when they are afraid. And yet she was there relentlessly singing her song. You hear her? This is who you are, child. This is who you are. Don't you ever forget. This is who you are. Do not be afraid, because I am watching. And I see. This is who you are, child. This is what you're called to do, child. this is your purpose. And by golly, she will just not stop singing that song to Jesus in her arms or to us. Because, my friends, Jesus' song is our song too. Jesus' mission in the world is our mission in the world too. And I know sometimes, church, that the arm doesn't feel very strong. But if you listen, you hear her sing and God call, raise up your arms for the sake of my little ones. This is your mission in the world. Though the darkness presses in, and it is real, we know a God who is relentless in this rescue mission, relentless and sneaky and covert when needed, and strategic when has to be, in order to bring about new life in a new way, in a new day. Though the darkness seeks to drown out the song, my friends, if we listen and we really pay attention, you can still hear her sing. Stars all round. This little light. This little light